Hi, this is Jalen Parker here with the Fantasy Squad podcast brought to you by the Just Good Network. Joined as usual by Jasani and Brandon. And the first round of playoffs in most leagues is probably just wrapped up. So, some of y'all are probably out down for the count. Others are still fighting for their fantasy championship belts. And we're gonna talk about it all. So let's get into it. This has been a bit of. Would you say that this year was marked primarily by injuries in fantasy football?
Yeah, yeah. We probably, especially the last couple of weeks, have seen a ton of injuries. And that's not really including COVID. There's just been a bunch of injuries this year, all over to like star offenses too. Just seeing even the backups getting hit, taking hits for some teams. So this year's been really rough, and these last couple of weeks have not been generous. I know a lot of playoff teams are out there scrounging for scraps on the waiver wire just to get a lineup going. So
Yeah, this is the time of the year when guys like Taysom Hill become insta locks in the starting lineup somehow.
you're considering Cam Newton week to week.
Yeah. And so it kind of, for you guys moving forward, are there any players that had a down season because of injuries this year that you would be looking to draft next year because you think you could exploit the value they bring? For instance, kind of like Debo this past year, right? He was someone who, because of injuries limiting him last year, he fell in the draft, even though when he played, he was good. And then he just continued that performance across a full game slate and increased the amount of touches he got. Are there any players this year that missed time due to injuries that you would say you look at as buy low targets kind of moving forward next year?
But can you repeat the question?
Are there any guys that had injuries this year that dropped them that you would be willing to take next year because you would think that they're worth that gamble? Like for one, I would assume like the big name CMC. If you're sitting at the bottom half of the first round or mid to late first round, would you take CMC?
I still think CMC is will be seen as like a top 3 pick.
Yeah, it'd be kind of hard to pass. Like, I wouldn't take any wide receiver over CMC just because
No.
his ceiling is so crazy. It's just the fact that he can't stay healthy. But even when he did play, he was averaging 20 points.
Yeah.
He's averaging 20 points, and did he even score a touchdown? Did he score one touchdown or something?
I think he scored maybe one.
Yeah, and so
Yeah, I think even with the injury risk, I think consensus ADP will still have CMC be around like 4 at the lowest. I don't think he'll even make it to 5.
Yeah, I would understand that. I think the only running backs I would for sure take over him would be JT, Najee, and Derek. But I also understand that you could just say, well, now Derek might be entering the CMC phase of his career.
Nah, man. you gotta leave. If it happens like again next season, then you can start talking about that. But just a single foot injury, the fact that he's only had that is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, and the good news is that Derek, since he should be back for the playoffs, then you could at least get to see how he looks. Because if he comes back and he sucks.
I mean, even if he comes back and he sucked, the fact that he could come back, the fact that he did come back and he would have a whole off season to heal up and prepare again. It's just the issue would be if he re-aggravates it and then he's rehabbing all off season and stuff like that.
Yeah, that is true. I think I saw somewhere saying that the times where players had the same injury and they came back in under 10 weeks, they ended up having to get a second surgery and they were never the same. But the guys who got at least 10 weeks, they came back and they played just as well. So I was like, so the stats literally say as long as they don't rush you back, you should be fine. But if they do rush you back, your career is over.
How long has it been since Derek's been out?
Derek got hurt our second game against the Colts, which was week 6. Speaking of the Colts, Do you think that that is a team that is a legit Super Bowl contender? I was watching Colin Cowherd today, and he had the Colts as his number 5 team in the NFL. And I was thinking about it, and I was pretty much saying I'm glad the Titans played the Colts when they did because I would absolutely not want to play the Colts right now.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's just all about when you catch fire, and the Colts, are catching fire literally like at the perfect time right into playoffs. So I mean, they have the defense, they have the crazy line, they got the run game. As long as
Yeah.
if Carson Wentz doesn't, cost him the game like he did against the Titans, then it should be fine.
Yeah, in terms of having a complete team, they definitely are close to having a complete team. Like Jasani said, the big factor is which Carson Wentz will show up, and at any given moment, Carson Wentz can throw away the game for you. So I do think they're Super Bowl contenders, but honestly, I think all playoff teams can really go the distance. Obviously, there's a few that you don't expect to go very far, but this year I think is more than ever is a toss up, especially with all the injuries and stuff that we've mentioned before. And the Colts haven't really been hit that hard on their offense, at least with injuries. So yeah, maybe it'd be the survival of the fittest, and they'll just go in healthiest into this offseason.
Yeah. Because like I remember, I thought that they were looking kind of like Miami. They were dead in the water at the middle of the season, and it's crazy. It all coincides with when they started giving Jonathan Taylor the ball.
That's crazy.
It was like everyone was saying, "Hey, Frank Reich, you need to give this guy the ball, and you guys might win."
He's finally getting over 20 touches.
Oh, and so thinking about JT made me think of a player that kind of falls into the criteria of my first question about like guys who, because of injuries, might be under the radar going into next year. The name I want to talk about, Miles Sanders. He just had his best game of the season. I think he had 18, 19 carries for 126. He has the most scrimmage yards in the NFL this season without a touchdown. So if his touchdown numbers matched up with his yardage numbers, he would be giving you like a really good season. Well, not really good, but probably like high end RB2 numbers, low end RB1 while playing, I guess. Would he be someone, if the Eagles' offense remains the way it is and they keep Jalen Hurts, would he be someone that you would think about at taking as like your RB2 in next year's draft, or would you be off Sanders due to the fact that his usage can be a little unpredictable?
I mean, I'd take Miles Sanders over Saquon. So wherever he goes.
I feel like that's a bold take.
I know, but Saquon hasn't done anything since his rookie season, so I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, you could probably say the same, if not worse, about Miles Sanders.
Yeah, but I mean, his offense is conducive to what he's.
Yeah.
Run first offense. I mean, it's just like if they change the offense, then yeah, I'm completely off him. Like
I personally am not interested in the Miles Sanders story. You kind of hit it on the head in your question, Jalen. His usage is very unpredictable. You don't know who's going to get the goal line work there, and they have a perceivably to be a good running QB. It's just not something I want to put my bet on. Also, they have a younger running back that catches the ball seemingly better than him. So it's not very good news that he could be that 3-down back for your team. And he does get injured a lot. So you're kind of taking on a lot of factors and hoping for a lot of things to fall in place, which in the past, Miles Sanders owners or managers have been doing, and they've all probably not done it again. So I'm assuming people that have drafted Miles Sanders in the back are not planning on getting him next year.
Yeah, I'm sure the number is kind of like what you're saying. Like the numbers look nice, but I'm sure the way that he's gotten them has been fairly frustrating.
Yeah.
Since they've committed to running the ball, though, he's been good ever now. Maybe they come back next year and they don't think the same thing. But I'm under the impression, at least, that this Eagles coaching staff has gotten better about like using their players.
Where do you think he'll end up going? Like back in third round, top of third round?
Probably top of the fourth, back of the. I would probably end up seeing him go like because I don't think you're taking Miles Sanders over any of those top tight ends or any of like the top 10 receivers.
Yeah.
And then that's not even thinking about how many running backs are ahead of him.
Where would you put him? Where would you rank him as a running back? Like a top 15, you think? We're counting next year, not this year, obviously.
I would say I put him above guys like.
You almost said Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'd put him over Josh Jacobs.
I read your mind.
But below, like
Josh Jacobs really worse than Saquon.
I don't think I'd take Sanders over Josh Jacobs. Honestly, I think I would at that point. I'm not aiming for those guys next year by any means, but if it was down to those two dudes, I think I would just take my shot with Josh Jacobs and call it a day.
I mean, the only problem about Sanders is just him getting touches. If he didn't get the touches,
that's a big problem for your running back.
I'm saying, man. JT wasn't getting touches either.
Okay, it's a little bit different though. Miles Sanders has been the only guy there, and he still won't get the touches.
What are you talking about, bro?
They
JT's
drafted
the best running back on the Colts. They got 19.
You're right.
Hey man, you got to remember they paid Naheem this offseason, so he's more set on the team than JT is. Completely joking. JT's not getting cut unless he does something egregious.
Are you taking Miles over Clyde?
Yes. No hesitation. Absolutely. Clyde is who would absolutely torment me to own.
Clyde is Miles Sanders, man.
Just think, there's somebody last year who spent their number 1 overall pick in Dynasty rookie draft, and they took Clyde. How do you think they feel right now?
Yeah, they're probably upset.
Yeah.
You
What
missed
about
on Swift, Dobbins, Taylor, Justin Jefferson.
Okay. Let's rank these 5 guys because I feel like they're all like relatively in the same area. We got Saquon, Josh Jacobs, Miles Sanders. What else did we just mention? Clyde. And what about we could throw in who? Let's see. Who else can we throw in there? Gibby?
Gibby's definitely better than all those cats.
Yeah, I would say, okay, how would you feel about putting in a guy like
Miles Gaskin?
I was going to say Gaskin.
No. We can't be talking about
David Montgomery. Would you have David Montgomery ahead of all those guys?
Oh, yeah.
David Montgomery is interesting because we don't know if he's going to be back on the Bears next year.
Assuming he'd be back, he's definitely better than all those guys.
I would also take him over all those guys as well. What about Aaron Jones next year after what we see with A.J. Dillon?
For sure.
And with potentially Rodgers not being there. We could assume Rodgers is not there.
If there's no Rodgers, I'm not touching Aaron Jones. His production as a rusher this year has been pretty lackluster, but
would you be fading him behind like Saquon, Josh Jacobs, Miles Sanders?
I don't know if I'm fading him that hard because like
where are we seeing Saquon? It sounds like we're Saquon in like the top 40 right now.
Okay, so
I have probably like top 20.
So okay, this was something I saw this year, right? Even if you're in the exact same sample size, like they both, I think Saquon has 118 touches and Devontae Booker has 113 touches. Devontae Booker outproduced Saquon in literally every single statistic possible, pretty much. So
Booker's better than Saquon, is what I'm
saying. If they're on the same team due to like dealing with the same circumstances, and he's looking worse than Devontae Booker.
I just think those injuries, man. what makes Saquon special was his burst and his quickness. And if those injuries took that away, what is he?
Just due to
I
big
mean,
thighs.
Yeah,
He's just a dude with big
yeah, I'm heavy off Saquon next year.
Is it assumed that he still will be at the Giants with the Giants?
Bro, if he wants to save his career, he should. Because the
where would he even go?
He's welcome to New England.
Bro, you know exactly where he belongs.
Atlanta.
He belongs on the 49ers, bro.
Oh yeah, perfect candidate.
Yeah,
injury
prone running back.
Yeah, he'd be amazing.
He would put up like 45 games. In like the first 2 games straight, and then he would be out the rest of the season.
Dang, it's a
The thing is, I think that's the kind of move he has to make. He's going to have to make the move to go to a team where like he's guaranteed to also get the touches and be the best running back, but like he's probably not going to get paid much. No team's going to throw back at him. Like, yeah, the Falcons, that'd be another team. I'm sure Arthur Smith would love to have Saquon on a cheap contract because he'd be like, hey, run him into the dirt.
Yeah, Falcons are baby no money right now.
they should. The backup. Like, what's the time?
His name's too
the backup to Derek.
His name's too cool to be a backup.
You think he could join like a tandem?
Yeah, him and Elijah Mitchell. That'd be
what
real.
What if we went up to Baltimore? Him and J.K. Dobbins.
I don't think Saquon Baltimore. I don't think he wants to be a Baltimore.
Bro, he might be third string behind Gus Edwards.
He needs that, man. His thighs can't handle the RB1 workhorse load.
Yeah. I mean, from those 4, I'm definitely taking Miles Sanders over all those guys.
You taking Miles Sanders over? Okay, so we said Josh Jacobs,
Saquon.
Who are you taking second?
Saquon.
Clyde?
Yeah, probably Saquon.
I don't know. I'm not off Clyde that bad.
I'll probably take Clyde last, bro.
You take Clyde behind
Josh Jacobs?
Josh Jacobs?
No hesitation.
But Clyde's not good.
It's like this.
He doesn't catch passes. He's not a good running back.
Clyde feels better because he's tied to a better offense and a better team overall than all these guys. But
out of all those guys, he's the worst running back.
Yeah. Like, there's a situation, right, where if Clyde, catches, 4 to 6 passes a game and gets 12 to 15 carries and, a touchdown every other game, but, he just doesn't give you those numbers. Those aren't even great, elite RB numbers, but those are solid RB2 numbers, and he can't give you those right now. And I don't know if that's a symptom of the offense he's in, symptom of his health, a combination of all of the above. I think a lot of things with I just don't see what goes better for Clyde that makes him better than those guys. Because I would assume the stats say that all those guys are ahead of Clyde right now on the season. Obviously, Clyde missed most of them with the injury, but I don't see what would.
I mean, even in the offense he's in, there's a better pass catcher running back on the roster, so they don't even use him as that. He's not really in between tackle type running back. That might even be a better runner. Who knows?
The only thing he has over Darrell is draft capital.
Honestly, they could have had JT. They could have had Dobbins, man. They could have anybody.
They could have had Pittman.
Where do you think Cordero goes next year? Do you keep him in the top 15?
Are you assuming he's back on Atlanta?
We're assuming nothing has changed for their running back room.
If he's back on Atlanta, man,
We're assuming he's still on Atlanta.
Cordero has the ability to absolutely body your season.
He has the ability to do absolutely nothing for you next year as well.
Yeah, it is training back this season.
But he also has the ability to be a running back that catches 12 passes a game and runs it, 7 times a game.
Yeah. He could be a knockoff CMC.
So where did you put him? Would you take him ahead of all those guys we've been talking about?
If he's in the Falcons, absolutely.
But I mean, I think he's just gonna slip because of just his name, like what he's done before. Like I don't think anybody's gonna pick in the first round or second.
Who is the number one guy I had? We said Miles Sanders. Would you take him? You take him ahead of Miles Sanders?
Yeah.
If he's on the Falcons,
yeah, I'm taking Cordero Miles Sanders, man.
Because it's not.
Come on now, I know you see the shirt I'm wearing.
Because
how far does? No, go on.
I feel like Cordero hasn't scored his points in like a fluky way. Like he doesn't get very many touches, but it's like the way he gets his touches that like is just going to limit points. And it's not like I said, he doesn't get them in like a fluky way. He kind of
that's a good word to say because it does feel like he's getting like fluky points, but it's not. It's like literally the game plan is
it's Cordero. So him getting points feels fluky.
yeah, exactly. Run it through the air with Cordero.
All right, how y'all feel about Calvin Ridley next year?
Dude, is Matt Ryan going to be back next year?
The Falcons could look completely different next year. I ain't gonna lie, man.
Dude, they like. I mean, if you think about it. Well, no, go ahead. You got it.
No, I was just gonna say. I mean, it's just like we need to fix so many things. Our offense is terrible. We have no cap space. Our O-line is awful, and our defense is terrible. It's just like, yes, Matt Ryan. I wouldn't say Matt Ryan is our problem, but he's not our solution. So we might as well, just restart.
If Matt Ryan leaves next year, then Falcons definitely should have drafted QB.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
It's like, wow.
No, man, they're trying to lock up Bryce.
Yeah, man, they're trying to be bad at the right time.
Yeah, you just
the Falcons will always be just good enough to not get that first round pick. That's how bad they are.
So, the thing I was thinking about, Jasani, is like even with all the things that you said about all the issues the Falcons are having this year, they still are in the mix for a playoff spot. And I'm just like,
yeah, dude. I heard it was like, dude, this year, like, there's no like great team this year besides like the Packers. The Packers, like, and I guess like maybe even the Rams, but I mean the Rams be losing people. It's like there's not many great teams, but it's a lot of good teams. This is why we're seeing like all these like almost 500 records across the league.
I would say even like the great teams have been like choking, like I guess specifically like the Bills and the Chiefs even went through like a rough patch that we didn't expect.
Yeah, the Bucs just got shut out by the Saints. Like what?
Yeah, it feels like every team's weaknesses have been like clearly defined.
Yeah,
at this point of the season, like
teams are exploiting them.
Yeah, like every team knows how to beat certain teams, and it's just like, well, this team lost this game. Well, what do we expect? We knew that they were bad at this,
Yeah.
Like I'm sure a lot of people were thinking the Patriots were going to go in there, or at least I was. I thought that was going to be a good game, but then it was like, oh, the Patriots' rush defense is probably the worst part of their team. So what did the Colts do? Just ran it on them.
That was the plan regardless.
Sometimes
it happened to work.
Sometimes they get cute and they try to throw it with Pennsylvania, bro.
Yikes.
But
we could go on to wide receivers now. I feel like we talked about a good bit of the running backs for next year.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, do you think that if nothing changes, are Cooper Kupp and so I think the assumption is that Rodgers and Adams will probably be out of Green Bay after this year.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the only big change that happens, right? Because that's kind of the change that's like a foregone conclusion almost. Are the top two wide receivers probably unanimously agreed upon Cooper Kupp and Justin Jefferson?
I think Tyreek would still stay up there.
Who?
Tyreek Hill. I think people would still really like Tyreek Hill to be like ADP. I could see Tyreek Hill being at least above like Justin Jefferson.
I can see that too.
Maybe
It's
Cooper Kupp.
They're both just it just all goes by quarterbacks.
In the hype, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, but I don't think Justin Jefferson should drop below the top 3 receivers. I think he's cemented himself up there. The new big 3, you know.
Yeah, I don't even know who like
a big 3 where 2 of them weren't in the big 3 like for this last draft. Isn't that crazy? When have we ever seen that? Two wide receivers dismantled. Because like, where do we see Diggs and D-Hop now? Like, do you still see them as top 10 options? Which is
I definitely
wild.
see Diggs I'm definitely way more on Diggs than D-Hop. I'm definitely fading away from D-Hop.
You putting D-Hop down as like a top 20 wide receiver?
I mean,
Awesome.
like I take him over like I take D-Hop over like dudes like Claypool, but I take Deonte Johnson over him easily.
All right, so you take D-Hop in like the 7th round.
that was such a disrespectful comparison. You said
I mean, D-Hop really hasn't been. D-Hop's just been hurt this whole year.
I have an honest question. Would you take D-Hop over Jalen Waddle?
Probably not.
You take Waddle over him?
I mean, Waddle's averaging like 12 targets. Man.
Waddle's good.
Yeah,
D-Hop's not getting targets anymore.
No, that used to be his thing.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think I personally am looking at it. I think D-Hop will get those targets again next year. That's my one thing is I think Christian Kirk will be gone. And I don't think you can invest capital in like a young rookie wide receiver and then also pay Christian Kirk while D-Hop is also the highest paid receiver. So I think this is just my personal opinion. AJ Green and Christian Kirk, in my opinion, will not be a part of that receiver room next year. And if they aren't, then I think D-Hop would give you – I think he would give you something close to a D-Hop year.
I agree, but if they
He'd be
do,
like 30 years old.
or they bring in like another receiver or something like off free agency, that's what I'm saying. If it's just D-Hop, then yeah, of course. But I just think they're always going to surround Kyler with as many weapons as possible.
Yeah, but keep in mind, if the Cardinals choke and miss the playoffs again, they might be looking for a new head coach.
Yeah, I mean, I can't. Yeah, they're choking pretty hard right now. I don't know what's going on with them.
Because they went from looking like they were just by far and away the best team in the NFL to.
Dude, this happened last year. Like Kyler got hurt and then instantly started sucking.
Yeah,
I feel like they haven't. I feel like they haven't really sustained like that many catastrophic injuries to be like, wow, you guys are not a good team.
All right, are you taking D-Hop over DK?
I mean, are we assuming Russ is still at the Seahawks?
Yeah, let's say he is still there.
I think you just take the shot at DK and call it a day. Even though Russ seemingly doesn't seem to like to throw the ball at DK anymore.
It feels like
to say something to Russ, bro.
He must have.
It feels like something like this year, almost everything that could have went wrong for DK went wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And it was crazy because at the beginning of the year, it was right when that Russ injury happened. Oh, it was right when Russ came back from that injury because DK wasn't getting below double digits any game.
Ever. Yeah.
And then right when Russ came back, it was just like the wheels completely fell off the wagon. And it's just like, I don't know what's going on in Seattle, man. That's
I think they're giving up on Pete Carroll, man. That's what it looks like to me. They just don't like. I just don't think they're really like are trying that hard for Pete Carroll. I don't see them fighting for Pete Carroll really. And it's also clear that like Russ, that finger injury is still messing with him because he just hasn't been as accurate as he was before.
Mm. So would you say? Oh, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna ask if you're gonna take D-Hop over AJ Brown.
I mean, I don't know, man. Julio brought some kind of curse with him when he got.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. I used to do that. Like the Falcons look like geniuses for getting rid of Julio at that time. Okay, he has been nothing but awful this year. You do exactly. It's the same hamstring, man. I don't even know what's going on with him.
I don't understand. Like, what is he supposed to do about that? Like,
yeah, it's going to happen every year. It's been happening every year.
I'm confused because it's just like, okay, so this hamstring made you miss most of last season. You missed most of the offseason with the Titans. And then you played. But I'm just like, is his hamstring literally just like never going to be okay again? Can he?
Yeah, I'm thinking he tore it at some point in his career and it just didn't heal properly or something like that. I don't know. But for him to just constantly tweak his hamstring, either he's not stretching or it's just very unlucky. I don't know what's going on with him.
Man, it's not stretching.
Yeah, it's just I've only heard him get injured by his hamstring, not an ankle, not a knee, not a shoulder. It's just that same hamstring. I'm like, Jesus, man.
But I will say I don't know how I feel about Titans players after this year. I scared, man. I mean, I think at full health,
relying on Derek. Derek like MVP, y'all.
When Derek got hurt, AJ was still playing well, and then AJ got hurt. Even Julio, if he plays and the Titans actually throw the ball to him, he produces. But like those two things have only happened in literally one game. Yeah. And that's just like
I think you do take I don't know. I think I would still take the shot on probably D-Hop over AJ Brown this year.
Yeah, I'm biased. I would probably take it. I'm biased. I take AJ, but biased. I'll openly say I'm being biased. I would literally look at these two players and be like, I gotta take the Titans player.
I'm assuming like CD Lamb will also fall in this area, but everyone would take CD Lamb over these guys.
What about Mike Williams?
I did not take the shot, Mike.
You talking about can guard, Mike?
Talking about one trick pony.
I mean, what if he leaves the Chargers? What if he leaves the Chargers? This is his contract year.
No. If he stays in the Chargers, he'll, I think, retain value. If he leaves the Chargers, in my opinion, I don't know what better situation he'll go to.
Leaving the Chargers would be, unless he went to a place like, okay, how would you feel if Mike Williams went to Jacksonville?
I mean,
you gotta hire
you buying into some hype right there. You really buying into some hype.
You gotta hire Dabo, bro, and bring in D-Hop at the end.
Yeah, when they're like, yo, we're gonna like if Trevor's like, yeah, dude, Mike Williams is gonna see 10 to 12 targets every game. I can guarantee you that.
I'll probably buy into that a little hype. If you go to Jacksonville. I'll eat that. I eat from the apple, bro.
Well, I don't think there are many but like there's very few situations that are better for him than the one he currently has. Just because he's playing with Justin Herbert. I mean, any situation that he would go to where he's getting paid would probably be a downgrade. And so I'm thinking like Jags is one where it's like maybe it's not that bad, but we have a question from Jay Shy. Said, "What's the topic tonight?" We're just kind of talking about the fantasy football season as a whole. We know a lot of people are gearing up for the final little championship run, so we're talking about guys how the season's gone, guys who produced, why some guys haven't produced, and how we feel about going into them for next year. I think it's fair to say most of the people playing at this point in the year kind of have their lineup super set. Yeah. But if anyone has questions, mine too, man. Mine too. I feel that.
It's definitely been the scrappiest year. You definitely had to get lucky on the waiver wires multiple weeks in a row to really survive this year.
Yeah, COVID has made fantasy even harder.
Bro, it's definitely ruined the championships, in my opinion.
I would say that this season I paid the least amount of attention to waivers that I've ever paid. And like it reflected in almost all of my teams not doing that well.
Yeah.
I'm just like last year I didn't check waivers too much and it didn't really matter because all my guys stayed healthy. But this year,
I was able to get a lot of cheap wins off of just like waiver wins, like getting Khalil Herbert and getting Darrell Williams and like all the Browns backups off the waivers, just like very easy cheap wins when I really needed running backs and stuff.
So I'd say if you're not active on the waiver wire or trading, it's very hard for you to win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I will ask, moving forward, if you take the plunge on Nick Chubb, are you then also inclined to take the plunge on Kareem Hunt, which would then also make you take Dearness Johnson?
I don't think you necessarily need to pick up Dearness Johnson. I do think it is required that you get Kareem Hunt on that team in one shape, form, or fashion. But if another team wants to reach for Kareem Hunt, by all means, let them. I wouldn't personally be reaching, but I would definitely take him probably around 5 or 6 if I had Chubb and Kareem was sitting there.
But you know,
you have
if
to.
one of them gets hurt, Dearness Johnson is like immediately.
Yeah.
Dang, he said he's like Todd. That's some
Dang.
Georgia boys.
Nah.
At
I
least
don't think he's like Todd.
At least he's not like Sony.
Hey man, Sony looks like he has. Sony looks like he has the grasp on the starting job over there at LA.
Nah, man. Just when
He outplayed Darrell. He outplayed Darrell Henderson. Okay, yeah, okay. Well, we'll see if Cam Akers is the same person that comes back. But
Yeah, you would assume that all
did
these
outplay
guys.
Darrell Henderson.
Do you think next year are you buying into Akers to take over as the workhorse, or because I remember the big thing when I was saying that like I was going to take Akers in the first round in Dynasty was that he didn't start seeing the workhorse role in touches until late in the season when Darrell Henderson had gotten hurt and he was like the de facto RB1. Do you have any worries about that? Because that was like the one thing people were saying. They were like, he didn't get touches till they had to give him the touches. But they did also invest high draft capital into him. So,
I mean, I'll be more worried about his touches and his injury.
Yeah.
And the fact that like it seems like Sean McVay loves Matthew Stafford and throwing. So I feel like Sean McVay, if he has the opportunity to throw, he's gonna do that more than he's gonna run.
If it's just like a known thing that he can make 100% recovery and will be fine, I think he will have no issue beating out those other two guys for the starting role. But I mean, and also you're taking on the risk of it being a three-headed workhorse or a double-headed workhorse, workload, and they do split carries the whole year because he's trying to keep his running backs alive until the postseason. So you do run that risk, of course, because they don't want to repeat what they did with Todd Gurley and basically ride him all regular season, and then when it gets to postseason, they don't have him anymore. They definitely don't want to do that again. So I don't know. I would honestly be looking for another team's running back. I was, even though Darrell Henderson had a great year this year, I was never really looking to buy or buy into that offense at all. How about you guys?
No, I've never been a believer in Darrell Henderson.
Yeah.
I think he's just play. I think that scheme, it's obvious that like whatever running back is getting the touches in that offense will produce.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's kind of like the 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
it's like anyone back there will produce, but also like you never know if they're gonna decide to have one guy be the star of the show that night.
Yeah.
Are y'all taking Mark Andrews as a top tight end?
As the number 1 tight end?
Yeah.
I think
it seems like he could play with any quarterback, which is a good sign.
No, I definitely think you could. I think that I think the top 3 tight ends can kind of be interchangeable next year.
Who's your top 3 tight ends?
Kelsey, Kittle, and Andrews.
Okay. Oh, you baiting Darren Waller?
I was going to say, I was interested to hear if Darren Waller was in the mix or not.
No. Well, I mean, I feel like he could be like right behind there. I'm not going to like say he's not in that top tier of tight end, but I would prefer those 3 guys ahead of Waller.
Still Kelsey, even though he's been having a down season. I mean,
Just dropped
obviously
40
last
points in
week.
my dome.
Yeah, I mean,
Brady got victimized, bro.
He just dropped 40, like 3 points on me.
could have dropped like 30 like 2 weeks in a row.
When's the last time Waller's had like a big, like booming tight end week?
Week 1.
Yeah, man, it's been a tough season for the Raiders.
So we dropping Waller all the way down to at least 4. I'd still take Waller. You still gonna take Waller over Hawkinson, Goddard, Pitts?
Yeah. I mean, Goddard's been getting those touches. I mean, be looking like a
Goddard's the guy I'd be looking at.
Yeah, man. I'd be like,
I feel like he's a sleeper pick.
Goddard. Yeah,
I feel like he's a sleeper pick, but he won't. I don't think he'll have an ADP higher than Waller or Andrew.
Nah. But I'm just saying, like, if you don't have to spend a top pick on those tight ends.
Yeah, I would honestly probably for ADP would end up rather just having Goddard. If you could get Goddard like a full 2 rounds after those other tight ends.
Yeah, but someone's gonna be reaching, bro.
Oh, of course. After someone's gonna see, as soon as Darren Waller gets picked, the next pick would probably be Goddard.
And then, do you have to then panic and get a Pitts and Hawkinson, or do you just wait? So that point, you might as well get Conklin. You might as well get a Hunter Henderson.
I'm trying to avoid being in that range.
If you out here
Arnold or
tight ends, man.
Man, I've always been on the Andrews train.
I mean, what about Gronk?
Man, sometimes you want him to retire, but he's too good. If he's out there,
he might be like Tom Brady.
He's top 5.
Tom Brady giving him that TB12 method.
Maybe Tom Brady retired.
Oh, Tom Brady retires. Gronk is going. So
So this is also another thing, guy, I want to ask y'all about. Chris Godwin, torn ACL, right? Or is it MCL? MCL? ACL. He's playing on the franchise tag. What are teams that, if the Bucks let Godwin walk, who would be a team that if Godwin went to, you would be like, oh yeah, no, I'm locking him up, even with the injury? Because the odds are, I don't know what the odds are, but like there would be a good chance that he's not ready to open the season.
If he goes to like,
what if he went to Detroit?
Nah, what if he went to Jacksonville? I definitely think. But if you're Trevor and Chris Godwin's on the team, would you not throw him the ball 18 times? Versus
that would get DJ Shark out there, bro.
LaVisca and Dan Arnold.
Yeah, the Jag offense could be, depending on what they're making draft and free agency, could be something if ETN comes back.
That's a player we didn't talk about, actually. ETN. Where do you think he's going to fall? You think he falls down to the 7th, 8th round?
Oh, yeah. He's going to fall hard.
Dude, do you even touch James Robinson? Assuming he's there.
ETN, I think Urban getting fired already was like, as someone who owns ETN in Dynasty, that was actually the scariest development, because like the next coach will just come in and say, I'm going to play whatever running back is better. Yeah. Whereas Urban at least had to be like, yo, I drafted this guy in the first round. I got to play him. And just not like James Robinson is a bum or is even bad. No, he's a good to great running back. Yeah, and so it's like, if ETN can't beat him out, how does he get on the field? The one thing going for him is that he's a good pass catcher and they don't really have receivers. That's the one redeeming grace. But that could change depending on what the Jags do this offseason.
I mean, you have to get Trevor a wide receiver 1, man. That's who they need to go after heavy.
I agree. It's looking like the Jags are going to have the number 1 overall pick. And if you were them, would you just take the best guy or would you try to trade back?
Is there a good receiver in the draft?
There's no such thing as a receiver to take number 1 unless it's Megatron.
Nah, I would say if there, I mean, it depends. I mean, if you think one of those pass rushers are life changing like that.
They have another pass rusher, more defense on the out.
Because I was seeing people were saying that this is a bad draft to be one of the worst teams and already have your quarterback. But because since there's no elite level quarterback prospects, that's normally what teams would trade up to grab.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think teams are gonna be trading up like that.
Yeah, let me trade up to 1 to get Sam Howell.
Maybe a good team will trade up to 1 and try and get Thibodeau.
Yeah, I mean, there's always that player that comes out the draft that the always that player that comes out the draft that's like, yeah, that dude's a god. That's that dude. You always like, man, how did that team pass on him? It's like easy.
I feel like the biggest example is when the Raiders took Cleveland and Josh Allen was just chilling there on the board, and it was like, wait, y'all needed an edge rusher? Y'all took that guy?
Yeah, that was John Gruden.
Raiders been trolling. Who's their GM? Is John Gruden been their GM?
That's something that they have really not offered too much clarity about. I guess you would say John Gruden is the GM, but the GM they brought in is someone who John Gruden brought in. So it's like
I feel like they've been choking on drafts the last couple of years. They're the ones that drafted Leatherwood, and everyone was like,
Yeah.
What? And
now Leatherwood is their starting guard, and it's like, dang, they're like, so do we need to draft another tackle?
And here they are. Did they trade their center? Or cut him?
They sent him to Arizona. Bro, that team, Gruden he Bill O'Brien that team.
Yeah, he really did. I'm surprised he didn't trade away Darren Waller and Derek Carr.
I mean, if you think about it, the John Gruden era literally started off on a bad note because he traded Khalil Mack without ever playing it down.
Without even meeting him.
And then he traded Amari Cooper at midseason. Because literally, hasn't the issues been since he's taken over? Everyone's been like, man, the Raiders have no pass rush and they have no wide receivers.
Yeah, when they had that.
They started off with those things.
Yeah, they created issues for themselves to solve.
That's wild.
Oh, no, man.
What if Godwin went to the Patriots?
Godwin? Say less, bro. Would you still take him top 20?
Bro, I might take him top 5.
You're capping.
Do I look like I'm capping?
Yes.
No, I'd say he's definitely 15. I still take him. I mean, Chris Godwin leaves, man. I think Mike Evans start kind of shoots up pretty hard. I don't think
we assume AB already done.
Yeah, they're not bringing back AB, man. You can't.
If they lose Godwin, they really might bring AB back then.
How do you guys feel about Scary Terry? I feel like he's had 2 years now where we've seen him basically just be boomer bust and kind of end the year bad.
Yeah, he's in quarterback, not even quarterback purgatory. He is literally in quarterback hell right now.
So if they decide to be like, all right, we got Fitzmagic last year. We never really got to see him. We're rolling out with Fitzmagic this year. Are you gonna be like, cool, give me Terry in the 3rd round? Or are you gonna be like, I'll let somebody else
I'll let somebody
take that gamble?
I heard Fitz might retire, but
I mean, unless they draft one or find one on the streets, I don't know what they're gonna be doing here.
Trying to get Sean.
I don't know.
They're gonna get Matt Ryan, steal Matt Ryan from him.
Because I'm seeing it was like, yeah, he's had Alex Smith, Dwayne Haskins, Taylor Heineke, Garrett Gilbert. Like, bro, he's not even getting starters. Like,
bro, this was D-Hop before Deshaun came.
He's a young D-Hop.
Except for D-Hop was producing.
It's just like, and the thing is, yeah, it feels like the Washington football team doesn't look at Scary Terry as an elite receiver, so they don't give him that's the one thing that kills me is it's just like, yo, he's by far your best offensive weapon. Give him the ball.
Yeah.
But it feels like they have zero pressure to do that.
They definitely want to run first.
Heineke wants to run it first.
Do you think if the Washington football team enters next season with Taylor Heineke still starting, did they just automatically fumble the offseason?
Yeah. I think the fans have the right to go in there and hold a coup against
Yeah,
the owner.
especially since the free agent quarterbacks might be Deshaun, Russ,
Yeah. The free agent quarterbacks are like insane this year. And like most of them don't want to be at the team that they're at. It's not like, oh, I might go back to my team. Most of them are like, no, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
I hate it here.
So do y'all think that Tyler Huntley could be an option for teams to look at during the offseason?
I bet you teams are definitely looking at him. Man. They're like, man, he's Lamar.
Exactly. That's why the Baltimore Ravens can't let him go, bro. He is Lamar.
Dude, Shannon says Tyler Huntley throws the ball more accurately than Lamar.
Yeah, dude. Skip called him out on that dumb fast. Skip was like, bro, Lamar won an MVP, bro.
I mean, he played one game. Come on.
Yeah, man, they do be wilding on this field sometimes.
Keeping an eye on your health is hard.
Hello.
I wish I knew where that was coming from, so then I could shut it off. But instead, I just had to mute it.
Advanced hybrid.
That's wild.
How do you feel about Jamar Chase next year? He is in a little bit of a slump, but he has that feeling.
I think people will see Jamar Chase as like a top 10 option next year.
Yeah, I think you have to look at Jamar as this season is like the floor almost. Because what could possibly change that would make Jamar worse? It's not like they have a good head coach. They could get a better head coach. The quarterback's not going to change.
Tyler
Boyd could be gone.
Yeah, like there might be less weapons for competing for targets. I think that like this year is just like this is what you probably should
keeping an eye on your health is
like just moving forward. But I don't know.
Are you taking Jamar Chase over T. Higgins?
Yeah, of course. I think Jamar Chase has at least the name value over T. Higgins, even if he hasn't been as productive the last couple of weeks. He has a name value over T. Higgins. I think T. Higgins might be a guy you could get for a steal kind of late.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, man. Like if you had T. Higgins, like right receiver 2 or flex, you're sitting pretty.
Yeah, I think so. I think you'll be able to get him like round 4 or 5, maybe even later, where people are maybe getting their tight ends. You might be able to get T. Higgins as like your wide receiver 2 or 3. I wouldn't be bad. Flex out.
I like T.
All right. Are you taking Austin Eckler over Alvin?
No. I think you still take Alvin.
Bro, Taysom Hill's the quarterback.
Nah, bro. No way Taysom Hill back there next year, bro. It is painful to watch.
He got 40 to 85 million, bro.
I hate watching Taysom.
If James comes back, absolutely, I'll take Alvin over Eckler. But if Taysom Hill ends up back there, or Ian Book is somehow starting,
we got a question. What is it? Long list: Higgins, Gage, St. Brown, Antonio Brown, Ronald Jones, Justin Jackson, and Eckler out.
AB.
He needs one wide receiver, one running back, and one flex.
AB.
No, you're putting Higgins. He is T.
Bro, Mike Evans and Godwin are not going to be there next game. That's going to be the AB game.
AB over T. With the Ravens got no corners.
I think you could do both. One receiver, one flex, one AB, one Higgins.
That's it. The running back.
Your one running back, Ronald Jones, bro, with Leonard down. Leonard is out, man.
Ronald, bro. I feel like Tom Brady does not like Ronald, bro.
Does he like Gio Bernard?
He doesn't like Keyshawn Bond either. I promise you that.
If he like Ronald so much, it wouldn't stop Le'Veon.
Oh yeah, I forgot they saw Le'Veon.
Okay, if Ronald Jones gets beat out by Le'Veon, they might as well.
No, that's not an option.
They might as well.
Le'Veon somehow convinced them to let him get a ring. I think. He somehow said he just needs a ring.
I would say. I mean, if Eckler's out, I'm gonna say Justin Jackson over Ronald Jones. To be honest, I would go T-A-B Justin Jackson. In my opinion, Justin Jackson did fine.
That was like last week was like the first week we've seen Justin Jackson do fine.
When was the last time you seen Ronald Jones?
I mean, we have a last year where he was like okay, right? Where he's pretty good last year. Justin Jackson's had like 2 years in the season, and all of his starts he's been butt, except for last week. We gonna just go ahead and give him the start.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Marco.
Hey man, it's a predicament. We get it.
Honestly, so the way I look at it, I think of all the guys, AB's the safest option because he's guaranteed at least one game, which is this next game, where he's gonna be the number one. And you think the Bucs are just gonna stop throwing?
He is coming off an ankle injury.
I'll take 20 targets.
I would, yeah. I mean, you still have. I would go T-A-B.
Cordero.
Definitely go Cordero.
Oh yeah, Cordero doesn't leave the lineup.
Yeah. Cordero T.
Yeah. That solves all the problems. Thank goodness. Yeah, Cordero, please.
Thank goodness you have Cordero, bro.
So yeah, we're agreement. Cordero, Higgins, AB.
I think that's your safest bet. If you're really not feeling AB because for whatever reason he gets suspended in the next couple of hours, who would you go? Maybe Amon-Ra, St. Brown.
I saw Amon-Ra second amongst all rookies in catches, and I was like, "What?" Or like receiving yards, or it might be catches, and I was like, "Really?"
Yeah, he does be digging and dunking. I mean, he's Jared Goff, bro.
Is Amon-Ra next year's breakout wide receiver?
I think the last like 2 or 3 weeks he's been seeing like 10 plus targets.
I don't trust
it's been resulting for like 7 or 8 catches, and like I think he's gotten 100 yards maybe once, but he's been low key okay for pretty much being unheard of for fantasy.
I mean, you heard about him. You drafted him in Dynasty.
Yeah, I dropped him. That's how good he was at the beginning of this year. But I mean, I had a lot of injuries. I had no choice. I would have kept him if I could, obviously, but circumstances forces the hand sometimes. I didn't think anyone was grimy enough to scoop him the next week. But lo and behold,
greasy
grimy league.
Tyler picked him
up? No, it's Pat.
Okay.
I had him. I dropped him again.
Dang, y'all sleep on Jared Goff.
So I personally am pretty high on Jalen Waddle for next year. I'm assuming you guys have Jalen Waddle ahead of Deonte Smith.
Yeah, I can, bro. I know Smitty is better, but there's nothing that I promise you, Smitty is hands down way better than Jalen Waddle. But there's nothing. You can't. There's no reason to take Devontae Smith over Jalen Waddle.
Did we say Waddle or DK yet?
I think kind of have to. I think you just kind of have to go DK.
Just out of respect.
just out of not getting flamed in group chat.
This man Waddle's getting like 15 targets a game, and I'm assuming Devontae Parker will have an equally as unhealthy year next year.
I feel like Devontae Parker's got to be out of there next year. I was hearing that they were trying to trade for him at the trade deadline, and I was
I think Devontae and
Will Fuller,
and Will Fuller are both about to be out of there.
You can't even say Will Fuller was ever
there. Did he even play? I think he played one game.
Something like that. I saw
Waddle getting like 19 targets a game.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, Tua really has no reason not to go to him and Gesicki and Gaskins. That's literally it.
What if Tua's not there?
Oh no. Wait, what? Deshaun? There's no way Tua's not there for a worse QB.
Yeah, if Tua leaves and they get a worse quarterback, they fumbled.
How would Tua leave and they get a worse quarterback? They have to
Trade
for
him to the Washington football team for Taylor Heineke and a first.
That's when you just fire. That's when you fire Flores.
That is super disrespectful to do, bro. You got Tyler.
They're like, give us this undrafted dude that we never even heard of until last year, and a first.
Well, that was almost as bad as D-Hop for a second.
Not as bad as Stephon Gilmore for a fifth.
But yeah, I mean, I think you definitely have to take DK over Waddle.
Yeah, I also feel I have just a strong feeling too that if Russ leaves Seattle, I don't think DK is going to stay there either.
You did. Well, I mean,
I don't know how
for that year.
I feel like he'll take a bag and stay.
Nah, I think.
Who else are they going to be paying on that team? They have like no running back that's going to be taking a bag. They have no quarterback that's going to be taking a bag. They have no receiver coming up taking a bag. They got no one on
imagine if you could get the same bag somewhere else and get a better team to be on. Maybe, I'm thinking that if the Seahawks lose Russ, they need to just say, yo, we're probably garbage now.
Oh, yeah. What do they even have left?
DK and Lockett. That's literally it.
Jamal Adams and Bobby.
Yeah, this is shadow of a defense that once was.
I was seeing, I think it might have been Colin Coward who said it. The Seahawks essentially have done what the Rams have done and like been nothing but misfires.
Yeah. Trade all the picks for guys that bust. That's quick I use. Just get spam. What happened here?
The whole stream just shuts down.
Don't click that.
Yeah, nobody in chat click the link, okay? But yeah, I don't know. I just think that it's like, because in the case with DK, they would also have to pay him. Next year would be his last year. I think, because this is his third year. Next year would be his last year playing before they would have to get him a big contract. He would ask for
Tyler Lockett, right?
Yes, I'm pretty sure.
I think they paid him. Yeah, I mean, what team would he even go? He needs go Jacksonville. But what is
everyone needs to go Jacksonville?
Bro, the Giants need receivers so bad. I feel like
if Devontae Adams and Rodgers leaves Green Bay, someone's got to go to Green Bay. They don't have no receivers unless you think Lazard will be their wide receiver one.
That's like an off-season.
LaFleur be caught dead, bro. Going to season like that.
The Packers have like the possibility from going like winning the NFC to like being like a top 2 pick.
To be like being like probably the number 1 seed for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
To be like a top 2 pick.
Yeah. They could fall hard.
Yeah, they could undergo such off-season change if they live. Like, imagine you go from Rodgers and Adams to Jordan Love and DK.
That's if you get DK. You're probably gonna have Jordan Love and
Lazard.
Yeah,
I mean, it's already a lot. Devontae Adams is going to the Raiders next year. So.
Devontae Adams going to Jacksonville.
Patriots better be getting one of these.
Nah, what did Jazz get? Devontae
I got
Adams,
Juju.
Chris Godwin.
Nah, Patriots are getting Gallup.
That's someone we forgot about.
Michael Gallup?
No, Juju.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll be surprised I'll be surprised if he's not like in the waivers by the end of our draft.
I think it depends on where he goes. I think it's a he's no way he's in Pittsburgh still, right?
No way. He needs to leave. Unless Rodgers comes in.
What if Juju went to the Chiefs?
I would just be like, why did you do that last year? The year that you got offered. He's just gonna go to the Chiefs for less money.
Yep.
Yeah, he choked. Yeah, there's no question there. He definitely choked. Definitely messed up. To get to being loyal to a team. It's not
I'm saying, people are like, yo, we need a wide receiver one. I want Tay Adams, DK, D Hop, Chris Godwin. You get Juju. That's what you're getting.
Juju on that beat, bro.
You're gonna get that Juju. You're gonna get this Juju, and you're gonna like it. You're gonna not gonna say anything about it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, the Jags will throw a bag at Juju, just like the Jets threw a bag at Corey Davis.
So I was seeing something that pretty much is saying that like so far the Jaguars owner, his tenure has been like the most unsuccessful tenure of any owner in the NFL because he's pretty much gotten every single coach hiring completely wrong.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, is bad owners really like a thing in the NFL too? Like,
oh yeah.
No,
What do you think's been holding the Cowboys back for so long?
Yeah, dude. I mean, dude, football's unique to where like the players really don't have much power. Where like in the NBA and MLB, players have all the power.
Yeah.
So it's just like, man, if you have a bad owner, there's ain't much you can do about it. He controls your coach. He controls where you practice. He controls your facilities, like
your
everything.
Teammates.
Yeah, your teammates, like your contract. Like
Yeah.
Jesus, it's just owners. I mean, they're the owners, so I mean, they can do whatever they want. But,
yeah.
Like,
It's just
if you get an owner that like doesn't really care about football, then what do you do?
Yeah, it's one of those things I feel like at face value, that would be the least most important thing. Like, oh, our owner is bad, but it's okay because he's not involved with anything. But it's like, no, he hires bad people to make bad decisions, to draft bad players.
Yeah.
To call bad plays because he gets bad coaches. Like, I think Urban Meyer, that was probably the worst coaching tenure in the history of the NFL.
10 months.
Yeah, there's only been one other coach who got fired like that fast through their first season. I think it was Bobby Petrino. And he had 3 wins. So Urban literally even had less wins. It's just like
the worst coach in NFL history.
So that would mean the odds are that the owner still doesn't get it right, and Trevor is just eternally doomed.
Yeah, I mean, it's like no surprising though. At the top picks are like doing bad. Besides like Waddle and Jamar, I guess. For the wide receivers, I mean, the top quarterbacks aren't doing anything. I mean, we don't know what Trey Lance is, but I mean, the most I see Trey Lance, he wasn't really that good. So
he couldn't throw. Maybe he turns into Lamar though.
Yeah, he was literally throwing duck balls out there.
I've been seeing people were saying that Justin Fields has been having a rookie season on par with like Josh Rosen's, but I was like, I feel like the eye test says that he's not that bad.
But like in the game I saw was I think this last weekend, it was like he would go from like rushing at 10 yards to taking like an 8-yard sack, like just back and forth.
Bro, this dude, Justin Fields is gonna end up like him if he's not careful. He's got to take shots.
He is.
My
definitely
goodness.
is.
Right, his ribs are always hurt.
Yeah, he's getting lit up. Like, oh my goodness. Like that shot that Eric Kendricks did, like, what? The fact that they even check him for concussion.
Yeah, they just let him go. like, oh, he's the QB. He doesn't get concussed.
Like, shoulder to the helmet, his head snap back.
So we've seen 2 coaches get fired this season. What other coaching changes do you think would happen this offseason?
Is Nagy gone?
Yeah, I've heard Nagy's gone.
Probably.
Yeah, I've heard he might be gone too.
I mean, Brian Flores saved his
Why
job.
keep Zimmer around?
Oh, what about the Denver head coach?
Yeah, I guess he's probably gone. I mean, there's just nothing really there. I'm gonna say his defense is good. He's a defensive coach. That makes sense. But I'll be like, you ain't gonna go anywhere, Teddy.
Is Joe Judge done?
I think
yeah,
he should.
I hear a lot that Joe Judge is out of there. What about Mike Zimmer?
I remember it was crazy when they hired Joe Judge. I feel like people were like, "Who?" The Patriots tight end, wide receiver coach. Okay.
Oh, you know who's definitely out? The Texans head coach.
I thought he was just an interim head coach, anyways.
I'm pretty sure he is. He said after the game that the GM was literally telling him like the game situation. Like he said, I think it was when they played the Patriots. He said the GM told him like, "Hey, let them score so we can get the ball back with more time on the clock." And I was like, "Bro, if the GM is telling the coach to do that, his level of power is
no. The GM is the coach.
yeah."
The GM is the offensive coordinator somehow.
I'm just like, bro, if the GM's telling the coach those types of like decisions, like stuff like that, I would just say that like the coach is either nothing more than a puppet or he's out of there.
Yeah.
What about? Do you think there's any chance the Bengals get rid of their coach?
Nah, just because just like
there's some hope there.
Yeah, it's like one of the best seasons they've had. Since Andy brought them to the playoffs.
Yeah, so. And the offense has been working, so maybe they want.
Yeah, it's just. You could have the excuse to where like, well, yeah, my team is stupid young. Like, of course we're gonna be inconsistent.
Yeah,
not wrong there.
What about? Do you think if the Cardinals suffer another late season collapse, that Cliff might be looking for a job?
I think he's boosted. I don't think he's that good.
I think if they don't make the playoffs, I think the college team is probably gonna try to hire him or something.
College team?
Yeah, like whatever is vacant right now.
UGA.
Yeah, man, UGA. Y'all need some innovative offense.
No, like Clemson needs offensive coordinators, man. We lost everybody. Yeah, it's pretty good. But he's like to go from head coach to the NFL to offensive coordinator of college.
Bill O'Brien.
That was not by choice, bro. He was kicked out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like Cliff Kingsbury could still find another head coaching job at another bummy organization. He's I feel like he's just basically been getting carried by Kyler.
Oh, you know who I think is on the hot seat? Matt Rule.
Yeah, I can see that too.
Because it's interesting because I think the thing with Cliff, the unfair advantage that Cliff has over all these other coaches that have struggled, he's literally had a franchise quarterback from day one.
Yeah.
And like you would say, like the thing that I think is going to end Matt Rule's tenure is the fact that he whiffed on every single quarterback decision like they made. Like,
yeah, man, they got greedy and got Sam Darnold for cheap.
He should.
Because it's like it's weird to say that like they shouldn't have replaced Cam with Teddy. They definitely shouldn't have replaced Teddy with Sam. But then it's also like, should they have even brought Cam back?
They don't know what they're doing, dude.
That's a weird paradox to say, like, they shouldn't have gotten rid of Cam, but then it's also like, should they have brought him back?
So, like, last week they literally had Cam and PJ Walker alternating on who could throw worse. They don't have any identity on this team. It's CMC, and he's not reliable.
What is it? If you have more than one quarterback, then you just don't have a quarterback?
Yeah, exactly. If you have a quarterback competition, that's not a good thing. It's not because of an abundance of QBs, that's for sure.
All right, somebody will take Minshew off the Eagles' hands. Washington football team, that's who needs to get Minshew.
I hope these blockbuster teams can make some blockbuster trades for these franchise QBs that are hitting the free agency. I think it'd be exciting.
Dude, it should be, and then watch nothing happen.
Yeah. If Rodgers ends up staying, they get Chris Godwin and Rodgers stays, Devontae Adams stays, they become a powerhouse. Russ goes to the Steelers and they choke in the playoffs.
Oh, that's another guy. Will Deonte Johnson be drafted as a top 10 receiver next year, or will nobody touch any Steelers wide receivers because they won't have Big Ben?
I think it all depends on their QB situation. I think if they're I don't know how it can get worse than Big Ben, but like if they just end up not getting anybody.
if Dwayne is starting.
Yeah. If they're like we're comfortable with our guys in the locker room and it's Dwayne Haskins, then I don't think you touch any of the receivers.
You barely would touch Najee at that point. You'd be like, oh, I don't want to do this.
I can't. My body refuses to hit draft.
Well, all right. Are there any other names you guys want to talk about?
I'm good, bro.
Those are the big names.
All right.
Talk about everybody. Yeah.
Well, this was a little bit of a more lackadaisical, relaxed show. Once the fantasy championship ends, I say we're all gonna probably, do one final show, recap the year, talk about guys that we really like moving forward in the next year, how we feel about guys who had some underwhelming years. And I also, when we have the information available, would like to talk about if this information becomes available, the players that are on the teams that made the championships. Like every year you can find the information kind of at the end of the year. It's like these are the most rostered players on fantasy championship teams. I'd be interested. I would assume Cooper Kupp is probably on a lot of those teams.
I would assume Cooper Kupp is probably like has the most playoff championship teams, and then JT probably number 2.
Yeah,
there's no way.
It's usually guys who ended up just being massive steals. I would even say a guy like Andrews would probably be on a lot of fantasy championship teams.
Yeah, you're probably right there.
That's something I definitely would like to discuss in the next show. So if y'all want to see this, you're gonna have to tune in. Well, all right. That'll be all. We're signing off here. And so, hopefully any of y'all who are watching and you're playing in the championship, good luck. The rest of you all lost already, so who cares what you have to say? Nah. Better luck next year.
Yep.